Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. The crypto super cycle is here, says a top analyst who also happens to be my fellow XRP YouTuber. So I want to talk about this because he put out a thread on Twitter on this exact topic, very long, very detailed, and there's been a lot of response to this, and I got a few things to say on this. And so the super cycle, in case you're unaware of what this term means, it's this idea of a market cycle that's going much longer than what we have historically seen. The prevailing wisdom in this space is that market cycles occur every 4 years thanks to the Bitcoin halving, which occurs every 4 years because that impacts the amount of Bitcoin being produced by miners. And of course, that affects supply and demand, and then markets catch up with the impact of that ultimately, even if it's a delayed effect. And we get these cycles that are 4 years. Well, Blockchain Backer says we're actually in a super cycle right now. And so I find that very interesting and very curious to see what all of you think as well. So plenty to talk about here in this latest Moon Lambeau Hot Jam. But before going further, I do want to be clear that I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos all up on the internets about crypto-related stuff, but just as a hobby and just for fun. That's all. As I record this, XRP is at $1.13, Bitcoin at $60,781, market cap for the asset class just over $2.5 trillion, and Bitcoin dominance climbing recently a little bit to 45.76%. And I'll be talking about that a little bit later in this video as well. But the market's in red today, a little bit. And it's not going to matter. We're in a macro bull trend, and I'll tell you what, I don't know about you guys, but it's never going to cease to interest and amaze me how the typical retail investor behaves. And I know it's not going to change. I see people have been behaving like this for the entire history. We have over 100 years of data of this, as it pertains to the stock market, 12 years of data roughly in crypto now. And it's more pronounced in crypto because the crypto asset class compared to the stock market, much more volatile. So you really get to see the extremes of how humans are behaved, but it's the same DNA regardless of which asset class humans are participating in. But it's just interesting, like from one day to the next, emotions sway wildly, and this informs investment decisions. It's bonkers to me. Now, here's the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. It's at 79 out of 100, indicating the market is still in extreme greed, but this update's only every 24 hours, so my guess would be that this number will be lower when it updates in another 8 hours or so. For frame of reference, at the time I'm recording this, it is 11:18 a.m. Central Standard Time, and that is Sunday, October 17th. So there you go. There's your Lemmings update, everybody. And so here's the thread in question. Now, I'm not going to run through this. I'm not going to read this. It's very long, very detailed, and I encourage you to hop on Twitter and take this thing out for a test drive. It's very interesting. So I personally always appreciate the thoughts and insight from the Blockchain Backer. And before we even get into what people have to say about this, I have to note something here. The vast majority of people in the XRP community are incredibly nice and polite people. There are some people, though, a small fringe, and you have a sufficiently large group, you're going to encounter people like this. You have a small percentage of people that are looking at this open, honest analysis from the Blockchain Backer. They don't agree with it, or they don't like it, and they're just outright being rude. And I gotta speak out against that. I love the openness and honestness, and this is not a time to attack. The Blockchain Backer has said his piece. He feels very strongly about this. He doesn't know for sure if things are going to go the way that he thinks it does, but I really am kind of disgusted by, and it's not just people, I'm not saying it's only people in the XRP community. There are people outside of the community because this thing's been retweeted widely. Look at this, 637 retweets. 106 quote retweets, almost 4,000 likes at this point. This thing's been seen wildly, probably by 100,000 plus people. Probably a good bit more than that. Based on those retweets, it could be hundreds of thousands at this point. And so, of course, you're going to get a large swath of opinions based on something like that. It's just I got to speak out against the people that are reading this open, honest analysis. He's just sharing his opinion, and the people that are being rude. And so here's the deal. No analyst is going to be right about 100% of the expectations they have. They'll lay out their analysis, and they're convinced of it. None of them will be 100% correct. I don't know if the Blockchain Backer is correct or incorrect in the way that he thinks this is going. But I will say this. he's way more correct than incorrect. I mean, you can think back to, for those of you that have been following for some time, think back to, that period over, it was a span of a few months. I can't remember exactly where it began and ended, but XRP was ranging about a year ago in the 20-something cents region. Maybe it was like August, September, October, somewhere thereabout. And it just seemed like it was never going to get out of there, and the sentiment was down, this or that. And Blockchain Backer was steadfast in his expectation, no, we are going to get out. Here's where we're going to bottom. And he was right about all of that. He just about perfectly called the bottom of that. He was also one of the people that said, hey, this thing looks like it's about to go when it went up. And then you know what happened in November, after being low for years and years and years, XRP rocketed up to about 80 cents, which some people thought was impossible. There's all sorts of calls he's had. He's way more correct than incorrect. And so he's talking here about his expectation for Bitcoin topping out maybe on the high end here, 72 to 75,000, maybe low $80,000 region. And that is a minority viewpoint, and he knows that too. He's talked about that as well. But the thing here is that, like, that's one thing. That's one expectation he has. He's called so many other things absolutely correct. The unfortunate thing about this is this is a more, like, I'd call it like highly consequential call. It's gonna be more noticeable because when you're talking about the top of Bitcoin, where it's going, that's when you're talking about that's gonna garner more attention from people that follow, and so he absolutely could be correct. I don't pretend to know. I don't. I mean, he hopes he's not. I hope he's not right, because I want Bitcoin to go higher, but he does too. So, like, I'm not critiquing him. I'm not. I don't know if he's right, or if the majority of people that think Bitcoin's going to go over $100,000, if they're correct, but the cases are being presented here. I'm just saying, either way, even if the blockchain backer happens to be wrong, which is yet to be proven, if that's the case, he's still way more right than wrong. So I would just be like, cut the man some slack. On top of that, if you follow him, he comes. I've never met him, but he comes across as about the nicest dude on the planet. So knowing that and seeing that he's just being open and honest and sharing thoughts and ideas, which is awesome, to see him get attacked for that in rude ways, like, I am not down with that. When I see people respond like that, I'm like, okay, Neanderthal, could you just please stop participating on the internet if that's how you're going to be? Because I don't like that. Now, as far as where this is going, like a couple, there are three analysts I'll highlight that seem to not agree with his analysis here. And again, I'm not going to run through the whole thing. I can kind of scroll through this, I suppose, if you want to pause as I'm talking here, and like you can pause and read through this yourself if you want to, or just hop on Twitter. But a big part of the idea that he's sharing here is that like there's this idea of the Bitcoin super cycle. And so usually when people say that there's going to be a Bitcoin super cycle, they're saying that we're in a new bull cycle, which has just started. Bitcoin bottomed the middle of December 2018. And so that's basically the beginning of a new cycle, somewhere thereabout. People can disagree on the beginning and ends of cycles a little bit, but that's about what people expect. And so the bull portion after that, anyway, the bull portion from mid-December 2018 onward, like that's what we're talking about. And so you still have these 4-year cycles, because the bear portion was preceding, that's still part of the cycle. But when people are saying super cycle, they're talking about from like roughly that point moving forward, we're no longer going to see these dips of, minus 80% Bitcoin, and altcoins crashing 80, 90+%, which is what we had historically seen. And I don't buy into that. Now, that's not what he's saying, though. He's not saying that. I just want to be clear. When people say super cycle, usually that's what they're talking about, a continuation where we're no longer going to see these dips. And I don't see any evidence for that. Humans are behaving about the same as they have in the past. But what he's saying, when he uses the term super cycle, which he uses right here where I'm circling if you're curious, when he's talking about a super cycle, he's actually saying that there's a cycle that began in 2015 and it never stopped, and it's continuing. So he's using it differently than I'd seen anyone else use it, just in terms of timeline right there. And so if he's right, then he's right, and if he's not, okay, fine. He's, like I said, he's still way more correct than incorrect. And me, guys. So I've always just loved the idea of just people getting together, especially as a community, and just having an open, honest sharing of ideas, and not attacking one another for having ideas that are different than your own. Like being adults is what I'm calling for here. And so that's what he's doing here. He's got an opinion which happens to be a minority opinion, but it doesn't mean that he's wrong. Like, there are instances where people have minority opinions and they're proven to be right. Yeah, so we'll see. Time's going to bear this out, and we'll figure it out. But either way, it doesn't change what I think about him, and I shouldn't change what you think about him either. And I don't like the attacking here. But it's okay to disagree, and I love the ideas being challenged. Like, ideas should be challenged. So any analyst that disagrees with this, of course, be polite about it, but come out and articulate your position as to why you think he's wrong, and then he can respond if he wants to, and that's perfectly fine. That's civil discourse. That I'm for, absolutely. But so like for instance here, chart analyst DIY Investing jumped in because he does not agree. In fact, DIY Investing, he does not subscribe to the idea of these market cycles lengthening at all. He thinks that it's basically 4 years pretty well like clockwork. And so somebody named Victoria retweeted this blockchain backer thread with 3 laughy emojis and wrote, "Someone doesn't understand market cycles," and then tagged a few people, including DIY Investing, and DIY Investing did respond, and DIY Investing wrote, "Bull market over, pack up your bags and go home, we're screwed." And then MB responded to DIY Investing and wrote, "Seriously though, DIY Investing, I think very highly of you and respect you and your opinion just as I do the blockchain backer, so do you totally disagree with his top of Bitcoin?" And DIY Investing responds with, $75,000 is blasphemy, sir. And so just to be clear, DIY Investing is calling for $250,000 Bitcoin, this market cycle. He believes that it's coming. He believes the fireworks are coming at the very tail end of this year. And he feels very strongly about that. And maybe he's right. I don't know. I'm not pretending to know. I have noted in recent days that, for the years that I've been following the analysts that I've been following, I have noticed that when the majority of them feel strongly about something, it's more probable, though not certain, it's more probable that the group of analysts that I follow, if they strongly happen to come independently to their own similar conclusions, more frequently than not, they're correct. And the majority of them do think Bitcoin is going to go much higher. And so that doesn't mean that the majority is correct, because I said probable, not certain. But that is what I've noticed, especially with XRP price action. When you can think, what does this even mean for XRP price action? But yeah, when Bitcoin, when XRP rallied, like I said, November last year up to 80 cents, the group of analysts that I was following, a ton of them were saying, hey, this thing's about to go, and it actually did. And I'd never seen that. That's the first time I'd ever seen that before, because XRP hadn't been going, so there was no other opportunity for that, right, for the duration of that bear market. And then it happened again when XRP was about to blast off to $2 in April, and then it happened again this summer. And so they were all calling for that, including the blockchain backer. They were all correct about that. And so I've noted that. And in this instance, the majority of the analysts I follow do think that. So is the majority correct again in this case? I don't know, but they could be. I'm just saying they usually are, but I don't know. It's not a certainty here. So again, he said, DIY said, $75,000 Bitcoin is blasphemy, sir. Then MB responded, can you tell us why you disagree specifically so much with the blockchain backer on this Bitcoin call? And DIY Investing wrote, I have an entire month of YouTube videos you can watch. I've already explained in great detail, sir. And it is true. He has explained in great detail why he believes that there are these 4-year cycles and why Bitcoin's going to go where it's going to go, $250,000 probably this market cycle. But that said, I would be curious to see him break down the specifics of the blockchain backers' arguments to see specifically which aspects of what the blockchain backers said and the rationale for why it's incorrect. Now, because I love thoughtful discourse. When I jumped into crypto in late 2017 and especially in early 2018, a lot of what informed my decisions was seeing people that were informed to debate back and forth, and then I was just sitting there initially as a blank slate and just seeing who had the better arguments, and that would help to inform my opinions. And that was part of what I was doing to learn. And I was doing research, Googling everything I could on the planet, watching all sorts of YouTube videos. And so that's still a good method here, I think, for learning anything in life, not even just crypto. If you want to learn what's true, if you want to get to the truth of the matter, let minds that are informed on both sides present the argument, and then see how things unfold from there. So that would be interesting if you could break it down further. But then there was this also. Somebody named Jason responded to this blockchain backer thread and tagged a few analysts, including Crypto Kaleo, who from time to time I will highlight on my channel. And so here's what he said about the blockchain backers' expectation of Bitcoin topping at 75,000, or even the thread even said maybe or low $80,000 region. Crypto Kaleo wrote, absolutely ridiculous to believe that's as high as it gets. LOL. And then in a separate tweet, he also wrote, also, his use of fib extensions doesn't make sense considering the time frames he chose. A more comparable scenario would have been to take the fib extension from the most recent Bitcoin range rather than from the 2017 through 2020 less than $20,000 range. So doing that, a target of $217,000 feels right. And I'll share with you the two charts that he shared. That's the first one. That's Ethereum USD. And then this one's Bitcoin USD. And so I'm not a TA guy. I'm not going to pretend to be. That's not something I'm interested in learning. I just like following the latest news and updates and, the 30,000 foot overview analysis and stuff like that. Like that, to me, that's much more fun and interesting. So given especially that I don't want to be a trader, right? I'm never going to be. That's another reason that I'm just not interested in learning TA for myself. It just sounds boring to me. So I'm glad that these people find it interesting and fun. I just don't. But everybody's got their their own idea of fun, so that's perfectly fine. So there's that, but that's Crypto Kaleo doesn't think that makes sense. Then there was this from TXMC, another analyst here, and he says, I won't challenge the blockchain backer on his technical analysis. He has often been right. Yes, now that is, let me pause. That is true. He is way more correct than incorrect. So even if, and it's an if he's wrong about this, it's not going to change how I feel about him, and it shouldn't change how anyone feels about him. He's providing some valuable information and insight to the community. He has been for a very long time here. And so, yeah, I get it. This is a highly consequential call. I understand it. You're talking about the top of Bitcoin, but it still is just one call out of many. And he could be right. So I'm just saying. And then TXMC continues. I am bullish on Bitcoin. The stacking on chain by all cohorts is impressive. Mitigating factors would have to emerge to challenge the bull case, and perhaps they will. More buyers would be nice, but the rest looks strong. So it seems he's being, and I like that, he's being perfectly civil. That's fine. He doesn't want to even seem to really challenge the idea much, other than that one little bit at the end there. That's fine. But he seems to disagree here. So I don't know. And here's the thing to think about. So how does this all impact XRP, though? Like, what does this actually mean for XRP? Well, if the blockchain backer thinks that XRP is going from $10 to $13 this market cycle, which I'd love to see, and Bitcoin only has to get up to like 75 grand and that's still going to happen, that's incredible. So what if the blockchain backer is wrong and we see Bitcoin go much higher? How high does XRP go then? Now that's the question. And look, the blockchain backers, again, he said as much. He'd love to be wrong. He said that. He would love to see this all go much higher. He just doesn't think that's what's probable here. But what would that mean? Because look, if you're talking about Bitcoin going to $200,000 and he thinks at $75,000 that's enough for XRP to go to $10, $13, what does that mean then? Does that mean XRP $20, $30? Now that would be interesting to see. I'd be curious to hear him say a little bit more about that. But, and the reason being, understand that if that much money goes into Bitcoin, then there's that much more to trickle through the rest of the crypto space, which I think means that XRP would be worth substantially more than that. And so that's why this is such a big deal. That's why I wanted to take some time to talk about this. This is a big topic. It's, like I keep saying, highly consequential, which is why I actually wanted to create a video just to talk broadly about this and also call out, I want to make sure I did that. I'm glad I did. Because it was really bothering me the way that some of these people are being so rude to the blockchain backer. I mean, I get it. It's the internet. There are some people that are just not nice people. I understand. But I'm going to speak out against that and encourage people to just be civil. It's like, just because somebody has an idea that doesn't align with your thinking on something, that shouldn't make them your enemy suddenly. And it doesn't mean that it's okay for you to be rude to them, like on anything in life. And so it's like, I see people acting like this. I'm like, oh, hi, caveman. Good. I just... Like, the picture in my mind is somebody just, like, bumbling around with a small brain just grunting at stuff. That's pretty much it. Now, as far as Bitcoin dominance, too, because I wanted to briefly mention this, there's this tweet from chart analyst Il Capo, Bitcoin dominance update. And he said something that makes sense to me. I've seen stuff like this play out in the past, and I've actually talked about this. It's just interesting seeing another, a popular chart analyst kind of say something that's in line with what I've spouted off in the past. And he said, so Bitcoin dominance update, not ruling out the move up to 49% to 50%. And again, by the way, it's at about 45% as I record this, Bitcoin dominance. Last time Bitcoin made a new all-time high, dominance kept rising for some days. Sooner or later, it will make new lows. I will hold altcoins until the end of the cycle. Yeah, and so Bitcoin dominance climbing, but eventually this thing's going to crater back down unless you think there's not going to be an alt season. If there's going to be an alt season, it's Bitcoin dominance, even if it's still climbing when that begins, its percentage, its share of the total market cap for crypto, it's going to be a smaller percentage, even if Bitcoin's inclining at that point. There's the altcoins, they're so illiquid, to get this multiplier effect up, it's just going to dwarf what's happening with Bitcoin. That's coming. So yeah, Bitcoin dominance got as low as 35% last market cycle. And I think it's going to get down to at least that, probably lower this market cycle, arguably, because there are even more cryptocurrencies and all these illiquid coins. If they're all going to take off, then it's going to be that much easier for Bitcoin to end up with a lower Bitcoin dominance towards the tail end of this market cycle, with the blow off top, and then it will climb again as we see basically Armageddon. As you see everything drop 80-90+%. The only way we're not going to see a drawdown like that, which we have seen historically, the only way is if we don't see a blow off top. So if you think we're not going to see those types of fireworks ever again in the future, then I'm like, okay, you're right. We're not going to see those 80-90% drawdowns. But you can't have one without the other. And so that's where I stand on this. Let me know what you think about all of this. Especially since I know there's a lot of crossover between people that follow my channel and the Blockchain Backer. I know a lot of people do subscribe to both channels, and I appreciate the support, and I know the Blockchain Backer does as well. But I'd be really curious to hear on your take on this, and if you disagree with the Blockchain Backer, that's fine. Just be nice about it. I know the vast majority of you are, and I get that. That's not like everybody's bad. It's a very small percentage, but I still felt the strong desire to speak out against the jerks who just unnecessarily are being rude to him out there when he's just being open and honest. Like, you should be able to share these ideas. Like, this is the arena of ideas. Let the ideas fight. If you think it's a bad idea, he has, fine, challenge the idea, but without being a jerk, please. That's all I'm saying. So I'll go ahead and wrap up there. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say are right. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.